Hey guys, how's it going? CoderMan here. As you can probably tell from behind me and just the fact that I'm wearing a jacket, it is now winter and has been for a couple months. And the GT4 has basically just been sitting in the garage. However, I really want to drive it, but it got me thinking, is this a car that you can actually drive in snow and in the winter, be safe and actually enjoy it? So I want to go over a few things that I've looked up and just kind of my input on this matter in regards to if you should drive this kind of car during the winter. So I decided to take it out today simply because it's about 50 degrees and it's, it's not too cold, it's not too warm, but it's, okay for summer tires. Now, if I had this on winter tires, I could drive it all year round. But right off, there's a couple issues with winter tires on a car like this. So right off, the first problem is that with these Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's, they're 20 inches. 20-inch wheels means I don't really have a lot of options in regards to snow tires. You could, of course, do a different wheel setup, but then you're kind of getting into a more expensive ordeal for something that you're probably only going to drive some of the time. So it's a matter of, should you spend the extra money and buy wheels, or should you try to find some options with 20-inch tires for snow? I have not been able to find anything in this setup. Honestly, I haven't done a whole ton of research in the sense of maybe stepping down or a slightly narrower tire. I don't like the stretch look personally, and I don't find it to be that safe. Now, another thing to keep in mind is the fact that this car is pretty low to the ground. So what does that mean? Well, if you're in, obviously colder weather, you have potholes, which means you have dips in the road and you can, break a splitter or two. I'm sure we've all done it at some point. We've hit something that we didn't want to. Not only is this a costly thing, but it's a pain in the ass to have the car down while you're getting it fixed, or God forbid you do more damage and you actually hit the bumper itself. Additionally, if you're driving in snow, you may run into a situation where you actually can't clear a road because there's some snow on the road, and you essentially become a snowplow, which I'm sure your city or town would love, but your car is probably not going to as much. So that's another consideration. If your car is really low, even if it's not a sports car, if it's just, say, an import car that you've lowered, you may not be able to drive it in the winter. There you go, 350Z, not bad. So another issue is in regards to the interior, and that's simply that when you're in snow and ice and salt and sand and all that crap that comes with the winter, you're gonna bring that into your interior. So you can do all the coatings you want on your exterior, but there isn't as many options on the interior. Now, there is some products that you can put on leather seats, but where this is Alcantara in the middle, and really the whole interior is Alcantara with the exception of the floor, you're going to run into some issues if you have sand and salt getting into all of that. It could potentially ruin it, or at the very least it's going to require you to have to clean it. Now, I'm sure I'll get some hate from this from those that don't live in warmer climates, but there's two issues with this car specifically. One is it doesn't have heated seats, so when you get into a car in the winter, it's going to be freezing cold. And less annoying, but whatever, is it doesn't have a heated steering wheel. Same thing, it's creature comforts, you get used to them. Of course, I know this car is not meant to be driven in the snow, nor has Porsche ever designed it as a daily driver. It is a track car that I'm daily driving, really, is what it comes down to. But, of course, when you do that, you have to start thinking of other issues that could potentially come up when you're deciding to drive the car for the various reasons that you're driving it. And that was a really long, winding sentence that I should probably cut out, but what the hell, we'll just leave it. So those are my reasons on why you may not want to drive a car like this in the winter, or possibly just why it may be difficult and something that you're going to have to decide for yourself if it's something you want to do. In my case, I'm on the hunt for 19-inch wheels and tire package. I have a buddy that has something that I'm going to go check out and may actually work for this. The wheels specifically are going to be really interesting, and I'm not sure how they're going to look, but for the winter I think it should be just fine. Now, I'm not going to drive this if it's really snowy out. It's more like right now where the temperature's starting to drop. I'm on summer tires, the drive home is going to be a little interesting. If it's actually snowing, I'm probably not going out. I don't have a need to, I don't have to drive for work, so why would I risk myself and the car to go out and have a little fun? If you decide that you're not going to drive your fun car for the winter, go ahead and check out your insurance, and this is just a little tip, but contact your insurance and see if you can get storage insurance, which should drop your payment, your monthly payment rather, pretty significantly. However, one caveat, if you have a loan on your car and the bank's involved, make sure you check with them first if it's something that you're allowed to do. Because the last thing you want to do is have lower insurance, have something happen, the bank calls the note due, and let's say the car gets totaled in your garage, it happens, all of a sudden you find out that the bank finds out that you didn't have proper insurance, they're going to sue you. Now, the wheel tire combination that I'm actually looking at is from Michelin, so that's interesting. And it is some basic, steely wheels for the winter. It's going to be interesting how it looks with silver, which is what I might go with. That's what my buddy has. So I'm going to check that out and see if it's something I might use. So like any other time that I film out in the cold, my hands are extremely cold and holding the camera is probably starting to shake a little bit. So I'm going to wrap this video up. One additional thing to mention about driving during the winter that I think is very important is you may start off your day and it's extremely warm, you know, 60 degrees, 55, whatever. However, the temperature can drop really fast in the winter, and I don't know if it's going to come out on camera and I'm driving, so, but it's 49 degrees now, and when I started this, it was just under 60. You know, hey, I'm driving on summer tires, this is awesome, but unfortunately, if you end up driving, you know, too far or whatever, you may end up being in a situation where you're now driving on summer tires in 35-degree weather. So there's an additional thing to keep notice of, you know, if you do decide to drive during the winter. And now let's head back to the original recording spot and close out this video. You just have to decide if you want to drive your car in the winter. Make sure you take the proper precautions. Some additional things real quick just to mention for winter driving, not specific to this car or really any car, is you want to increase your stopping distance, you want to slow down in turns, you want to be more aware of other cars that may not be able to stop as fast, especially in something like this. This can stop really fast. A car, you know, a Honda Civic in front of me or a Toyota Camry behind me cannot. So you can't do really evasive maneuvers and kind of, you know, drive that high performance life in the winter because people really aren't prepared for it. And lastly, this is just kind of a funny thing. If you drive a car, relatively interesting, as well as if it's red, in the winter, you're less likely to see other cars like yours. Therefore, people get really excited when they see cars like this. Just today alone, I've had 3 people come up to me in a parking lot, a gas station, and a thumbs up while I was driving. So it's kind of interesting, and if you have a YouTube channel such as myself, I guess in a way it helps you promote your channel and maybe get your name out there a little bit more.